you. Hi, I'm Naniqua, and we are graduates of Ghana Christian International High School, and we urge you all to subscribe to Hisblock TV.
Hello there, you're welcome to my channel. My name is Collins Nanaya Abebrese. In this video, I am going to use old footages as well as images or pictures to explain or to summarize the military regime that has taken over Ghana since independence from 1957 up to 1993, when the country returned to civilian rule. And so that is what all this video is about. It's a summary of the military regimes that has taken over Ghana from 1957 through to 1993, when we returned to the Fourth Republic. I would also be explaining the meaning of the republics as we move on in our video. So if you are new on this channel, I would like to remind you to subscribe to our channel, share our videos, and also like and comment as well. So let's begin with our discussions for today. So Ghana gained independence in 1957. So as you can see, I have a table over here, and the first for column I have the year, that is the years that we are talking about. Then the second column I have the party, that is either the political party or the military regime that came to overthrow that political party. They are found in this column. Then we also have the leaders that also led that particular political party or military regimes, also in this column. Then we have the republic. So the republic in which each of these leaders or parties, are ruled, is also found in the last comment. And so let's begin with our discussion. Now, Nkrumah gained independence. He became prime minister from 1957 up to 1960, and so from 1960 to 1966, Nkrumah became the president. So from 1957 to 1960, Sergeant Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was a prime minister, which means the country, or Ghana, was not a republic. We were still under the British. And so 1960 July, that is the Republic Day in July 1960, Ghana became a republic, making Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah the first president of the first republic of Ghana. All right. Now, Nkrumah's party was the Conventions People's Party, or the CPP, and then the leader already is Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah ruled within the first republic. So I have termed it as a civilian regime. So Nkrumah's regime was a civilian one because Nkrumah was elected by the citizens of Ghana, and therefore Nkrumah's regime is a civilian regime, not a military regime, a civilian regime. However, in 1966, all right, in 1966, February 24th, 1966, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of the First Republic, was overthrown in a military coup. Now, this military coup was led by members of the for Ghana Armed Forces, as well as police officers. All right. Now, the coup was actually instigated or organized by a certain general of the Ghana Army called Emmanuel A.A. Afrifa, or General Akwesi Amankwa Afrifa. He was the brain behind the coup against Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. However, there were other members of the coup. So when Nkrumah was overthrown, the constitution was suspended, which then means that the First Republic was overthrown. All right. Then Nkrumah was overthrown in 1966. So the military that overthrew Nkrumah ruled from 1966 to 1969. Now, this military called themselves the National Liberation for Council, NLC. They were led by General J.A. Ankara. Now, this is a military regime because they took power, by force. They were not voted for. So the first military regime to rule Ghana was the National Liberation Council, led by J.A. Ankara. Even though Afrifa, Afro-Kutuka, and Co. were all part of the National Liberation Council, they chose J.A. Ankara as the leader of the council, and you can see a video of the council on your screen. So 1969, the National Liberation Council, which were led by J.A. Ankara, decided to allow election to take place. All right, mainly because this military regime, the National Liberation Council, said that they were only caretakers, caretaker government. We call them caretaker government, which means that they didn't come to office to stay, but just to depose a president whom to them was being a dictator, and so they just only came as a caretaker. So they allowed election to take place in 1969. Now, an election was conducted in 1969. A new constitution was also promulgated as at that time. Now, in the 1969 election, the CPP, Kwame Nkrumah's party, was not allowed to contest in that election. So members of the CPP, especially Agbedema, who was the finance minister in the CPP government, left the CPP to form his own political party, in order to contest, because even having Nkrumah's image during the election period was considered as a crime, and you could be jailed for that. And so the CPP was disbanded. So in 1969, election was conducted. Then the Progress Party, PP, led by Dr. Abrifa Buzia, as well as Edward Akufo-Addo, who is the president of, who is the father of the current president of Ghana. All right, that is Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Now, a new constitution was promulgated. Okay, and that constitution provided for both a prime minister as well as a president, and that is why you find in the Second Republic. Now, this is a Second Republic. Why? Because a new constitution has been promulgated, and so it ushers the country into a Second Republic where the people or the electorate or the citizens were allowed to vote. So you find a prime minister and a president here because the constitution, or the Second Republic constitution, provided for a prime minister as well as a president, and that is why you find a prime minister and a president over there. So that ushered the country into the Second Republic. So the Second Republic of Ghana lasted for 3 years, from 1969 up to 1972. 3 years, the Second Republic was also overthrown in a military coup. All right. Now, the PP was also overthrown, or Buzia was also overthrown in 1972 by Colonel Ignatius Kutu Echampong, and he called his military government the National Redemption Council, the NRC. Now, this was a military regime. So Colonel Ignatius Kutu Echampong was the military leader that overthrew the Second Republic, which then means that the constitution of the Second Republic was also suspended and parliament was dissolved. All right, and so Ignatius Kutu Echampong then became the military government leader of the country. Now, between 1972, you can see I have Supreme Military Council 1 here, and I also have Supreme Military Council 2 also here. Now, these two military regimes were the same. Now, Echampong faced criticisms, allegations of corruptions and all of that. So the military at this point was deemed to be corrupt. So what Acheampong did was that he reconstituted the National Redemption Council, the NRC, and the NRC was made up of somehow junior officers and stuff like that. And so he reconstituted it and called it the Supreme Military Council, SMC1. And in this new government military regime, it included some senior officers, in the military, and that's why they call themselves the Supreme Military Council. So Acheampong reconstituted the NRC to be known as what? The SMC 1, and that is why you have the SMC 1. That is from 1972 to 1978. Then on July 5th, 1978 to June 4th, 1979, what then happened was that in 5th July 1978, the Supreme Military Council 1, SMC 1, was also disbanded, and it was also reconstituted to be called the Supreme Military Council 2, and this was done by General Fred Ekufu. General Fred Ekufu. Now, General Fred Ekufu, at this point, the military there was so much corruption in the military. People felt that the military had actually, failed them. And so what they decided to do was that people were calling for election to take place. Acheampong actually was not willing to allow election, even though there was time, he had fixed time and all of that for election. But Acheampong was actually reluctant in allowing election. He was keen on his Unigov, policy, where he sought to bring both the civilians and the military, together to work for the country. So because of that, Fred Ekufu forced Acheampong to resign. So Acheampong was resigned from the SMC1. Then Fred Ekufu also constituted the SMC1 and called it the SMC2. And that is why we have the SMC2 over here. Good. Now then, June 4th, 1979, almost a year. Don't forget that even though people were calling for election to take place, Acheampong and Fred Ekufu had put in place a day for the election. They had actually set a date, especially Fred Ekufu's regime. He had actually set a date for the election to take place. Then, out of nowhere, June 4th, 1979, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings came to overthrow the SMC2. And that is, he called his regime the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, the AFRC. Now, Rawlings had already tried a failed coup in somewhere May, I think 13th May, the same year. Of course, Rawlings had attempted a coup, but it failed, so he was arrested in that month, May 1979, and then later he was, released by some military men, Major Boachijan and co. And so Rawlings then came back again, to conduct another coup, and that was the June 4th, 1979, same year. All right. So then the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council was also, took charge of the country. Now, the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, if you look at the date, see, they only spent months in office and then they left from June to September, and then they were left. Now, the reason was that at that time, election date had already been fixed by the SMC2, led by Ekufu. And so Rawlings felt that there was a need to cleanse the military of that corrupt practices. Some people were deemed to be corrupt from the days of the CPP, from the days of the National Liberation Council, NLC, all those military leaders, Champon, Ankara, Frifa, of course, coming down to Akufu. There were some, corrupt practices associated with these people. So Rawlings felt that it was necessary for him to actually, come and cleanse these people. So he decided to kill some of the officers, senior officers, of course. He at that time was a junior officer. And so he decided to kill most of the senior officers. And there are a lot of issues surrounding that decision, even though some people feel that he killed those military officers so that he himself could be safe, because he had attempted a coup in May 1979 and had failed. And he was released from prison by Major Boachijan. And then, he has come back to conduct a successful coup. And so there was no way he could stay with the senior officers that he had, tried to overthrow. So he had to kill them. But then he also, in the latter days of his life, he also was saying that the people were actually calling for blood. He did not initiate that. It was the citizens that were calling for the head of these people. And so he needed, to let the blood flow so that things would calm down. So he quickly allowed election to take place after the execution of the people. Bear in mind that we are still, the Second Republic had still been overthrown, and we have not come yet. It's all about military from 1969, 1972 up to 1979. It's all about the military. So a constitution was also drafted. A date for the election was set. Then an election was conducted, and in that election also the PNP, the People's National Party, the political party was the People's National Party, the PNP, which was led by Dr. Hilary Limann, also won the election. Now, Hilary Limann was an Nkrumahist. So at this point, 1979, the people had realized, citizens, Ghanaians had realized that they made a very big mistake by overthrowing Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in 1966, or backing the army to overthrow Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in 1966. So people began to campaign, on the backs of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's achievement, claiming that when they come to power, they would also, champion the cause of Nkrumah. And so, Dr. Hilary Limann was an Nkrumahist, and partly that was a reason why PNP won the election in 1979, because he rode on the fame of Nkrumah to do that. And that ushered in the country into the Third Republic, because a new constitution was again drafted, and that ushered the country into a Third Republic. So it was Rawlings. Bear in mind, 1979, it was Rawlings that handed over power to Dr. Hilary Limann in 1979. And, when that handing over happened, you will be looking at some of the images or the videos of the handover and all of that. Rawlings warned Limann that he knows what had happened, previously. He warned him that people were overthrown because of corruption and all of that, so he should also be very careful. And so Limann ruled from 1979 to 1981. Say how many years? Almost 2 years. Then Rawlings came back in 1981 and did a bloodless coup to overthrow Dr. Hilary Limann again, claiming that Limann was not, fighting corruption as, he used to. As it was supposed to be done. So according to Rawlings, he felt that Limann was blind to all that had happened earlier, and he was also doing the same thing that his predecessors were doing. So Limann was overthrown in 1981. This was a bloodless coup on 31st December 1981. It was a bloodless coup. It means nobody died. Then Rawlings formed the PNDC, the Provisional National Defense Council, and they were also a military regime. So Rawlings then overthrew the Third Republic, and that is Limann's government, and so the Third Republic was overthrown. Then Rawlings ruled from 1981 as the head of state to 1993, so making Rawlings the longest serving head of state in the history of Ghana. All right, because from 1993 there was also pressure on Rawlings to allow election to take place, and so Rawlings stepped down as a military officer and then allowed election to take place. A constitution was also drafted and promulgated in 1992, and that is what we call the 92 Constitution. So when you look at Limann being the Third Republic and that constitution being overthrown, then the 1992 Constitution then ushered Ghana into the Fourth Republic. All right, and so Rawlings won 2 terms because the Constitution indicated that the president could only run for 2 terms. So Rawlings won first term, that is 1993, and then he ruled up to I think 97 thereabout. Then there was another election. Then 2000 he stepped down, and then Kufuor also took over from 2000 up to 2008, because 4 years, so 2000, 2004, and then 2008. Then Atta Mills also took over from 2008, and he couldn't. I think Atta Mills finished his first term, and then he was given another 4 years. So 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, Atta Mills won again. 13, 14, then 15, Atta Mills died, and then somewhere Dr. Mahama came, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama took over, and then he was also given 1 term, and then he was also voted against. Then Akufo-Addo came in there. So yeah, that is the military and the political history in summary of the country from 1960, from 1957 up to 1993, when we entered into the Fourth Republic. So in entering into the Fourth Republic, we've had about 5 presidents in the Fourth Republic, making this Fourth Republic the longest republic if you look at the history as we have indicated, making the Fourth Republic the longest because we've had a lot of presidents. First president of the First Republic was J.J. Rawlings, and the second president of the Fourth Republic has been His Excellency John Agyekum Kufuor. Then the third president of the Fourth Republic has been John Evans Atta Mills. Then the fourth president of the Fourth Republic had been John Dramani Mahama. Then the fifth president of the Fourth Republic had been Akufo-Addo. So we are looking at, or we are waiting for the 6th president of the Fourth Republic. May God help us to defend our constitution and defend our democracy and republic. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to subscribe to this video, share our link, and subscribe to the channel.